to hear about your story and how you came to be where you are today. So the problem that I'm trying to find an answer to is how I can find a career in the future that I can be truly passionate about and interested in. So I guess that's how we would start it. So where were you when you were my age?
Okay, thanks, Katie. How old are you? You're 15 and you're in 9th grade?
Oh, actually 10th grade.
10th grade. Well, good for you for thinking about this stuff. Back then, I didn't really think a lot about what I wanted to do with my life in high school. I just kind of had fun. And I did get good grades, though. And I didn't really get serious until I graduated high school, and I started working for about 3 months at a Winchell's Donuts, and I hated it, and I decided my parents were right. I should have went to college because, like, by the end of the week, the paycheck was not enough to, like, I wanted to buy a car, and I wanted to live on my own, and it just wasn't enough money. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to college. So I went to college, and I thought I wanted to be a child psychiatrist. And so I moved up to the San Francisco Bay Area, and I started up there at a 2-year college, College of San Mateo. And I got a degree in psychology, and then they gave me a job interning in the first psych hospital for small children. It's called Latency Age. It's between like 2 and 11. So not teenagers. There's plenty of places for teenagers. Yeah. And I really liked that, but then I realized while I was working there, they would do a lot of medicating the kids and, putting them in 4-point restraints when they would act out. And a lot of those kids were autistic and had Asperger's and what we call now the autism spectrum, but they didn't know what that was. We're talking the early 90s. And so there was one doctor there who was using something called a Feinberg diet, which is where you take all the preservatives away from little kids. And I noticed that the cafeteria was giving them things like green Jell-O and bacon, and they could have Coke for breakfast if they wanted, and they could just pick whatever they wanted. And times when the kids like went off and were acting really badly would be right after meals, within an hour of mealtime. So this one doctor, and I was young, I was like 20, maybe 22. I was working on my bachelor's degree, finishing it, and he said, hey, I think the food has something to do with it. And he did an experiment where he took certain foods, all preservatives, all sugar, white flour, and I think dairy, away from the kids, and they got better, the few kids that were doing it. And I was amazed. And then it wound up, he got fired, and within a year I quit. So I worked there for 4 years. I finished my degree in psych, and then I quit and decided that I didn't want to be a child psychiatrist anymore. My parents were not happy, of course, but then I moved back to LA, and I actually got into Stanford, and I wound up not going because I changed my mind on what I wanted to do, and left the guy I was with up there. So I moved back home, and then still didn't know what I wanted to do, wound up getting a job at the LA mayor's office, and I was doing grants between LAUSD and the mayor's office for the DARE program, which wasn't, I liked working at the mayor's office. I learned a lot, but I also figured out that I didn't want to be in politics either. And then I kept that job until the earthquake. And when the earthquake happened, they were going to put me on a grant to help people who were afraid to go back in their houses after the earthquake. And I didn't want to do that either. I thought that was kind of silly. So a friend of mine said, like, what do you love to do? And I said, I love exercising, I love vitamins and nutrition, and I love, like, reading. And I love reading about vitamins and nutrition and stuff. And she said, just go get a job, because I was still working on my master's. And I changed it, like, 4 times. And she said, go apply for a job in Manhattan Beach at either a bookstore or a vitamin store. So the bookstore, which was called Hungry Mind down in Manhattan, told me I was overqualified because I went in with a suit with a resume, and they're like, yeah, no. And then the vitamin store was called the Remedy Store, and it was in Manhattan Beach by Bristol Farms on Rosecrans. You know what that is? And they said, well, yeah, we need a manager, so come on in. And like within a couple months, I became a manager. I already knew a lot about supplements, and the man who owned it, I became a manager, and he paid for my last degree. So I finished my master's. He paid for me to get my certified nutritionist license. And I did that at night and ran the store during the day. And then he let me start seeing patients in the back of he gave me an office in the back of the store. And it was awesome. I interned under a registered dietitian back then because there weren't very many nutritionists. It was hard to even find a school to get a degree in that back then. And now a lot more people want nutritionists instead of dietitians. And the difference to me is I could have done a 4-year RD program at like Northridge or Long Beach, but those are the people who come up with hospital food. And if anyone's ever been in the hospital, like I can't even eat that food. And you tell them you want vegetarian, and they give you, like a cheese sandwich, and they don't get that cheese is not vegetarian. And I just didn't want to work in a hospital. I didn't want to work because they make you intern in all these different places. So a lot of how I picked what I wanted to do was by picking what I did not like to do. And my job really is a passion. I've been doing this almost 20 years. And this is a stack of, this is just from the last two patients I've seen. Like, this is all the testing and all the work that I go through to look at. I'll cover her name, but this is a organic urine acid test, which tells me exactly what nutrients her body is absorbing and not absorbing. We did a hair mineral test, which tells me what issues she has. Here I have a test of the brain that tests what neurotransmitters you're high or low in. So instead of doing antidepressants, you can do one of these tests and actually fix the root of the problem. So I do some weight loss stuff with people. I have a lot of guys who reach a certain age and want to build muscle and keep their hormones up and that kind of stuff. So I do that stuff. But really I work with a lot of kids with autism and those kind of issues, and a lot of women with either chronically ill who can't find help anywhere else, or hormone issues, and men as well.
That answered a lot of my questions. And probably another one would be, what skills would you need to pursue this career?
So if you wanted to, it shouldn't take you I think I've done 12 years of college now, or 11. It costs a lot. So you need to be strong. I have a really good grasp on biochemistry, which I went back and did. So you need to be really strong in math, which I'm not great at, but I really worked at it. Biochemistry, statistics, because you're going to be reading studies and things and trying to decipher what's real and what's not real. Anatomy, I didn't want to do a cadaver. I was afraid of cutting open the animals in biology, but you need a strong background in those kind of things. And so your science is your math, and then I would say for sure any kind of psych or social science. My psych degree comes in a lot of handy here because a lot of dietitians get people who have mood issues and they don't even realize what's going on because they don't teach you that in nutrition school. And then some business classes, because I run a private practice, so if you're going to run your own business and try to make money doing this, then you have to know how to run a business as well.
Well, thank you. That actually answered all of my questions. So I really appreciate you again giving the time.
Sure. Thanks for calling me anytime, and good luck when you're done with your college. If I'm still working, let me know and we'll get you an internship or something.
Thank you.
Thank you.